Hey guys, my name is Alfie Evans, and today we're going to be reacting to Sentencing Dreamworks Villains for Crimes Part 5 by Wickedbinge. Now, of course, from what I could gather, we are sentencing villains for movies such as Kung Fu Panda 2, Madagascar 3, and also Puss in Boots. So without further ado, let's get into it. 3, 2, 1, play.
What a pretty little nightmare. It's time once again to put the villains of Dreamworks Animation on trial. These dastardly characters are infamous for their devious plots, despicable actions, and disregard for law and order. We already put fairy tale creatures on the stand, even supervillains and murderous tigers. In this installment, we'll be sentencing everything from a peacock to the boogeyman. And today, as we continue our way through the Dreamworks library, we have a variety of bad guys on our docket. Lots of sequels and spin-offs, including Kung Fu Panda 2, Madagascar 3, and the first Puss in Boots, as well as a very unique Rise of the Guardians. Hey guys, I'm Brad with Wickedbinge, and this is sentencing Dreamworks villains for their crimes. First, we're heading back to China for Kung Fu Panda 2. We're gonna start with Lord Shen. Without a doubt, Shen from Kung Fu Panda 2 stands as one of the most remarkable villains that Dreamworks has ever created. His impressive character design, combined with Gary Oldman's outstanding voice acting, brings a genuine touch of sadness to his persona. His sole desire for happiness, hampered by his deep-seated pride and the wounds from his past, creates a profound contrast to Po, further emphasizing his character complexity. He wants to wipe out every panda in China. Right from the get-go, that means he's attempting an active genocide. And while we don't want to spoil too much, just know that no other villain we're putting on trial has done anything that cruel. Unlike many villains, however, Lord Shen kinda accomplishes this goal, further showing his brutality. He isn't much kinder to the other animals he encounters either. He kills his henchman Boss Wolf for failing him, and destroys Thundering Rhino with a cannon. The latter murder is part of his main goal to take over China and destroy the art of Kung Fu once and for all. While he fails in that second mission, he actually takes over the city for a time, making him guilty of both usurpation and treason.
Yes, I watched as your parents abandoned you.
His actions in the film, primarily against the pandas and China, also constitute a war crime. If attempting to wipe out an entire species doesn't count as that, we don't know what would. Lord Shen is arguably the most dangerous adversary of Po and the Furious Five, and is more than deserving of the death penalty. The Kung Fu Panda movies are clearly modeled after pre-modern China, so the punishment was carried out mainly in two ways: hanging and decapitation. Whichever one he gets will undoubtedly be a horrid way to go, but considering his crimes against China, we can't argue that they're not deserved. Next is the commander of Shen's armies, Boss Wolf. As Lord Shen's most trusted soldier, we can mark Wolf down for aiding and abetting. He helps Lord Shen during a slaughter of the pandas, and he leads his army during the war against China.
Get all the metal you can find!
These acts make him guilty of murder and treason, and can also constitute a war crime. From this small bit of information, it's clear that Boss Wolf is a creepy canine. He nearly kills a baby. Can you get any more evil than that? Despite this, Boss Wolf appears to have a conscience. When Shen ordered him to fire the cannons, he refused.
Hey, what is this beverage? It's tea!
Boss Wolf paid for this.
Time for a tea party!
Even an underling has a limit. Because of that,
Let's go back.
He refused, arguing that it would come at the cost of many of their soldiers. Boss Wolf paid for this with his life, but it does show that even an underling has a limit. Because of that, Boss Wolf gets off a little easier, receiving a life sentence in prison instead. Don't get it twisted. Boss Wolf is still detestable, who deserves to spend the rest of his life in solitude. However, his decision to stand against Lord Shen shows that he's not as evil as he is, which gives him a slightly more lenient punishment. We're sure he'll enjoy this over meeting his end with one of Shen's blades. Alright, the next movie is the original Puss in Boots. Although it wasn't anywhere near as beloved as the more recent film, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, the original 2011 Puss in Boots definitely had its moments, and its villains were certainly memorable, for better or worse. First is Humpty Dumpty. He starts off as an ally to Puss in Boots, but as the film draws near its conclusion, his true colors finally manifest. While he helped Puss in his quest to find a set of magic beans, Humpty Dumpty wanted to use them for himself and take revenge on Puss in Boots for making a mockery out of him.
You abandoned me when I needed you the most. What happened to Brothers Forever?
The other villains of the film, Jack and Jill, are also in on this plan, which we believe is grounds enough for a conspiracy charge. And let's not forget that he did ultimately steal the magic beans, meaning he committed theft over the course of the adventure. While Humpty Dumpty did betray Puss, we see later in the film that he sees the error of his ways, and he begins to help him save the city of San Ricardo. He even gives his life to do this, showing a level of heroism many redeemed villains fail to do. It is for that very reason that we decided to give Humpty Dumpty our first and last pardon of the day. Next, we have Jack and Jill. Like we mentioned in Humpty's sentencing, they helped him get revenge on Puss, which already makes them guilty of aiding and conspiracy. However, they then turned against Humpty Dumpty as well, as they were only using him so they could obtain the golden goose and become rich. This means they don't get the redemption Humpty got, but also that they're guilty of both theft and animal abuse on account of their treatment of both Puss and the goose. In the end, these villains don't quite get the same amount of development as Humpty got, but they make up for that by getting a harsher sentence. In the case of this couple, we sentenced them to 20 years in prison. Jack and Jill might have gone up the hill, but they're also going to the slammer. Who's ready for a trip to the carnival? Well, strap in, because we're about to look at Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted. Now, although the third Madagascar film may not have been quite as charming as the original, we will say that its villain, arguably, was the best in the entire Madagascar franchise. And of course, we're going to talk about Chantal Dubois. While most animal control workers are fixated on capturing and locating wandering animals, Dubois takes things to a whole other level. She doesn't want to simply capture the Madagascar animals, but kill them and display them as trophies.
You should never have left the forest. Now you deal with me.
Even before the events of the movie, she was anything but nice to animals. She claims to have killed both a parrot and a goldfish at an early age, showing that she's capable of both animal murder and animal cruelty. Beyond that, she's not really a fan of following the law. She commits an act of jailbreak when she escapes a prison in Rome following her arrest, showing that nothing will ever truly stop her hunt against animals. So that earns her the death penalty. Chantal presents a danger to animals of all kinds as long as she roams, forcing us to give her this punishment. It's far from the kindest sentencing, but given all the pain she's inflicted on the animal kingdom for essentially her entire life, it's certainly a justified one. Alright, last film of the day, 2012's Rise of the Guardians. Welcome Pitch Black to the stand. Definitely one of the more unique choices for a Dreamworks animation story. Rise of the Guardians is maybe one of the more forgotten films in the library, but there's no denying it had a really interesting antagonist. In a film full of iconic childhood fantasy characters, Pitch Black fills the role of the film's version of the Boogeyman. He wants complete and total control over children and their dreams, as well as to weaken the powers of the only people who can stop his plan, the Guardians.
You have a bad habit of interfering.
That first mission makes him guilty of child abuse, but there are many more layers to the second objective. His battles against the Guardians see him kidnap the Tooth Fairy's fellow fairies, attempt to kill them, and actually succeed in killing the Sandman. His plans eventually fail, but while Pitch Black can never truly die in the film's universe due to fear always being a necessity, the rules of the real world don't see things that way. Rather unsurprisingly, Pitch Black earns himself the death penalty. Pitch is, alongside Lord Shen, the only villain here today to actually kill a named character, so it only seems appropriate that he be given the same punishment. Given that this is a character who's easily the most powerful and fantastical in this video, it's debatable how it would be carried out. Nevertheless, Pitch is likely going to endure quite the nightmare. But let us know in the comment section below if you agree with our sentencing.
I actually agree with all of them. I think the harshest one's got to have to be Chantal Dubois. I thought she was just going to get a life sentence for that. But anyway, that was, of course, sentencing Wickedbinge. Benge's Dreamworks Villains for Crimes Part 5 by Wickedbinge. So if you guys enjoyed it, please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. And also guys, subscribe to Wickedbinge if you haven't already. And as always, until next time, peace.